Do you think that's a crime?
Absolutely not. First of all, I had no criminal intent. Secondly, the name was never made public. And that's why I say John Doe, because the name was never made public. And then...
So you're working for Kerry, though, while he's on the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. And then how did it happen that your case got reopened? It had to do with John Brennan.
Yeah, John Brennan.
Obama, but what went on
Right,
here?
so John Brennan was literally the only former senior CIA officer to endorse Obama.
Yeah.
All the others were pretty evenly split between John McCain and Hillary Clinton. So when Obama won, he named Brennan CIA director, but the liberals were up in arms because Brennan was one of the fathers of the torture program.
Which he later said in that 2015 documentary, CIA Spy Masters in the Crosshairs or whatever by the Naudet brothers. He tried to paint himself, because he was the current head of the CIA at that point, as someone who's like, the CIA should be above torture. I'm like, Malaka, you fucking...
He made all that shit up. He was the deputy executive director of the CIA at the time. So he was in the briefings every single day.
Yeah. And you knew him well.
Very well. I knew him from the day I was hired.
Wow.
Yeah. He was a GS-14 nobody when I was hired in the Office of Near Eastern and South Asian Analysis.
Yeah, he must be like a good behind-the-scenes guy, because the lack of charisma on that dude.
Oh, there's a story that I probably can't get into.
Okay.
Yeah, it's connections.
Yeah. All right. So he endorsed Obama.
Oh, so he endorsed Obama. Obama says, CIA director. The Senate says he can't possibly get confirmed. So Obama makes him the deputy national security advisor for counterterrorism.
Okay.
Which does not require Senate confirmation.
Okay.
He almost immediately asks Eric Holder, the attorney general, to secretly reopen the case against me.
Now, why did he want to do that?
Because we hated each other.
That's it. He just didn't like it.
I aired the CIA's dirty laundry, and John always had a Nixonian obsession with leaks. Unless it was him leaking, in which case, there's a parade of journalists from the Washington Post and the New York Times, coming in and out of his office.
So they reopened the case.
Yeah.
Now, this is where, because I looked at the Wikipedia before this on the case part specifically, because I wanted to see what the narrative is. Alessi, can you actually pull that up? Just pull up John's Wikipedia.
I've never looked at my Wikipedia.
You never looked at your Wikipedia? It
never even occurred to me.
Yeah, let's pull it up. But basically what it says is that the charges that ended up, I think the final ones that stuck when you made the deal, go down to the case, Alessi, go way down. More. Okay. All right. Go up. Go up. Yeah. Do
you want this?
Yes, right here. So I'll read it straight off here. The specific charges were that in 2008, Kiriakou confirmed the name of a CIA officer, which was already well known to people in the human rights community, according to the Government Accountability Project, to someone who claimed to be writing a book about the agency's rendition practices. In a separate 2008 incident, Kiriakou gave a New York Times journalist the business card of a CIA agent who worked for, quote, a private government contractor known for its involvement in torture. Was that Deuce Martinez?
Yeah, Deuce Martinez, who was never undercover in his life.
Okay. So essentially, what they're saying is the final charges here didn't have to do with your ABC interview or anything like that. It had to do with an email you sent.
3 of them did.
But they dropped those.
They had to.
Because you didn't do anything wrong.
No.
Right. But the ones that eventually stuck were from emails afterwards where there was someone that you confirmed.
Yeah, I'll tell you the whole story.
Please.
So there was a journalist.
What was his name?
It was
New York Times guy.
No, it was ABC News. It was Matthew Cole.
Oh,
yeah.
Who was the other guy?
I talked to
what the hell
New York Times.
Name? Oh, Scott Shane.
Oh, yeah.
Is that it?
Yeah, they charged me with espionage for talking to Scott Shane. I was like, having lunch with the New York Times is not espionage, and they dropped the charges.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. So
see, but what they do is they charge stack against you so that they wear you down. So he wrote me this email and he said, "Hey, I'm doing a book on the Abu Omar rendition." I said, "I don't know anything about Abu Omar." And he said, "Well, can you introduce me to any of these dozen people?" And I said, "I don't know any of these people." And I said, "Look, kidnapping was not my thing at the agency. I never worked with those guys. So he sends me another email with a list of 12 people. He says, can you introduce me to any of these people? I said, clearly, you know this issue better than I do. All I know about the Abu Omar rendition was what I read in the Washington Post. And then he says, what about on page whatever, 165 of your book? You talk about a guy, I think his name is John. I said, oh, that's John Doe. I don't know whatever happened to him. He's probably retired and living in Virginia. That was the crime. I confirmed the last name of a former colleague.
Do you think that's a crime?
Absolutely not. First of all, I had no criminal intent. Secondly, the name was never made public. And that's why I say John Doe, because the name was never made public. And then you look at David Petraeus, for example, who released the names of 10 covert operatives to his girlfriend, never charged. You look at Leon Panetta, who outed the Osama bin Laden shooter to Hollywood writer Mark Bowl and Hollywood producer Catherine Bigelow, never charged with a crime. And there was a disgruntled former CIA officer in Maryland who put on his website the names of 7 former CIA undercover people, never charged with a crime. So why charge this when there's no criminal intent and the name was never made public?
Did you know you were under investigation again?
No idea. It was a
so
secret.
the doors get hit on you one day.
Yeah, there were 2 things that happened. One, in discovery, we got 15, 20,000 pages of discovery, classified discovery. And we find this memo from Brennan to Holder. And it says, charge him with espionage. And then Holder writes back and says, my people don't think he committed espionage. And then Brennan writes back and says, charge him anyway and make him defend himself.
This is in discovery. You have this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh my God.
So we went back and we said it's targeted prosecution because they don't like my political views.
Maybe it's like late and because we've been talking for 6.5 hours and my mind's not thinking straight, but like the Justice Department it's not supposed to take outside
it's not.
ideas from someone else in government. It's supposed to act independent, right?
That's exactly right. But there was another thing that happened. When I was working for Kerry, one of the things that I absolutely loved about that job, and it's what I loved about working overseas, is you get to have lunch or dinner with foreign diplomats. And I just love the exchange of ideas. You know, what do you guys think about the Israeli elections? What do you guys think about the peace process? What do you think about, Erdogan's new policy toward the Kurds, whatever? I love it. Yeah. And I get a call one day from the Japanese embassy, from the number 3 at the Japanese embassy. He calls me, says he'd love to have lunch. I said, great. So we meet up at this steakhouse on Capitol Hill. And his English was so bad that we did the whole lunch in Arabic. So he's their Middle East guy. And I remember what we talked about that day at lunch. This was in 2011. We talked about the Middle East peace process, Israeli elections, and Turkish elections. And at the end of the lunch, he says to me, so what's next for you? And I said, well, I promised Senator Kerry that I'd give him 2 years. It's been 2.5. I have 5 kids. I need to think about putting my kids through college. I think I'm going to resign and go into the private sector again. And he goes, no, don't do that. If you give me information, I can give you money. And I said, do you have any idea how many times I've made that pitch? Shame on you, cold pitching me like that. I said, I'm going to report this. And I got up and I walked out. And I went directly, without stopping, to the office of the Senate security officer. And I said, I was just pitched by a foreign intelligence officer. He goes, was it that damn Russian again? And I said, no, Japanese. He goes, Japanese? I said, I know, right? He said, but they do poke around for trade information every once in a while. He goes, I have a standalone computer. It's not connected to anything. Write it up. I'm going to print it and I'm going to take it to the FBI. I said, great. I wrote the entire story of the lunch. Next day he calls me. He says, 2 FBI agents are going to come up and see you. So come down to the SCIF, the secure conference room, and you can talk to them. So I go down there, 2 young guys. I told them the whole story. And one of them says, okay, here's what we want you to do. We want you to call him back, invite him to lunch, and try to get him to tell you exactly what information he wants and how much he's willing to pay for it. I said, okay, because I'm a fucking patriot. I said, you want me to wear a wire? They said, no, we're going to be at the next table. We're going to listen to the whole conversation. I said, okay. So the morning of the lunch, they called and said, something came up. Go ahead and do it and write us another memo. So I did. Got all the information they wanted, wrote it up, sent it back over. They asked me to do it a 3rd time and a 4th time and a 5th time, which I did. At the last lunch, it was a nice place in Georgetown. He says to me, I just got my dream job. I'm going to be the number 2 at the Japanese embassy in Cairo. And it was so great knowing you. I said, great, good luck. Shook hands, never saw him again. Year later, I've been arrested. We get all this discovery.
Oh my God, he was an agent.
Yeah, there never was any Japanese diplomat. He was an FBI agent who happened to be Asian and spoke Arabic. And I continually foiled their operation because I would write every single detail in these memos and send them back to the FBI.
They must have been like, God damn, this guy's good.
Well, finally, one of them wrote a note and he said, it's clear he's not going to take the bait. We should end this operation. And then that's when the guy said, I got transferred to Cairo. I'm like, oh, good luck. So I said to my lawyer, why would they do this? I'm a patriot. He said they did it because they have a shit case and they know it's shit. And that's why we're going to trial.
But you didn't go to trial.
Didn't go to trial.
Now, what went into that?
I was completely prepared to go to trial.
And by the way, you found out like literally when you were arrested that there was even an investigation against you.
Within weeks, yeah. Oh yeah, when the day of my arrest was the day
you found out.
I found out. Oh my God, they've been following me for 3 years.
Got it. Okay.
Tap my phones, grab my emails, teams of surveillance following us to church, into church, into Target, restaurants, kids' school, all kinds of shit.
What'd your wife say about all this?
Oh, she was furious at them. Not at me. She was very supportive.
Thank you for watching the video, guys. If you haven't already subscribed, please smash that subscribe button and check out this clip's full podcast episode by clicking here